Hi everyone, welcome to Belle's Books. I'm Carly and today I'm bringing you a very belated update on my Women's Prize reading. So I haven't posted it in a while. It's taking me a long time to read still. So since last year, since the blip as I'm now calling it, I haven't got back to my usual reading pace. I'm still very slow at reading and I get distracted very easily. So I haven't got through as much of the Women's Prize as I would have liked to. And shocker with the shortlist, that was a big surprise. So yeah, I think like most people, I was quite shocked by what came out on the shortlist in the end. So I'm still going to do a quick run through of the books that I am still interested in reading from the long list, because there are some books on the shortlist that I'm not interested in reading and I'm not going to be heading to them. I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll just read all the shortlist, but I'm just not into it. I'm not going to read Pod. I've heard lots of kind of mixed reviews about that, and I am swayed by other people's reviews. Like I said before, I will watch people doing reading vlogs of the Women's Prize and look at the reviews and see what they're saying, and I just am not interested in heading to Pod, so I'm not gonna go there. So the books that I have acquired since the long list was announced that I am still going to head to. Also, apologies if you can hear some noise upstairs. There is some music being made and that is carrying through the ceiling, which is quite annoying. But the books that I'm still going to head to, because I bought them after the long list was announced, so I've got Tresspasses by Louise Kennedy. I've heard lots of good things about this. I've got stickers on here which I need to take off. I've heard lots of good things about this, and yeah, it's set in Belfast, is it? Yes, during the Troubles, and that is something that I am interested in and would like to read about. It's about a woman having an affair with a married man, and she's a teacher, and it's dealing with all of the violence that the Troubles involved. So I'm still going to head to, I think this might be the next one that I pick up. Then I have Wandering Souls by Cecile. That was loud. This is a refugee story of a family escaping persecution in Vietnam and coming to the UK after I think they were trying to head to the US and that failed. This I know is going to be quite heartbreaking, but I think it's an important read, so I want to head to it. Also heard lots of good reviews on this one. Of course he's shouting at me now because I'm recording. Stoneblind by Natalie Haynes. I love a Greek mythology retelling, so I'm going to be reading this. Probably not anytime soon now. I might put this on the back burner, but I'm always here for this kind of stuff, and I love Natalie Haynes. So yeah, I'm still excited to get to that one. I also got Glory by NoViolet Bulawayo. Again, I've heard mixed reviews on this. Some people love it, some people don't. But I'm intrigued by the premise of like a new kind of Animal Farm style narrative, so I'm going to read that at some point. Again, these are not like now, because they were long listed and they're not on the short list. These are not like top priority for me, but I will get to them at some point. And then I have also got Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow. This I think is like a family saga, a multi-generational narrative of like women in the family, and I'm here for it. Set in Memphis, know nothing about it, but again have heard lots of good things. So those are the books that I still do want to read from the Women's Prize long list. The ones that I'm definitely not going to read, let me consult my list, are Pod by Laline Paull. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. The Dog of the North by McKenzie. I'm just not interested in that. Black Butterflies by Priscilla Morris. That is on the short list, and I'm not sure about it, so I'm going to wait and see. If it wins, I may read it. Children of Paradise by Camilla Grudova. I heard Jen Campbell talking about this and she loved it, but I think from the way that she described it, I don't think I would like it, so I'm not going to head to it. Then the big boy that everyone thinks is going to win, Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I've got a reserve on this at my library. I am going to attempt to read it, even though it's massive. But I want to give it a go. Again, this one's had mixed reviews. Lots of people either said it was the best book that they've read or did not get on with it. So I wanted to give it a go and try and read it. But I haven't read David Copperfield. I've seen adaptations. I've seen the film, the most recent film of it. So I'm aware of the David Copperfield story that it's riffing on. So I will give it a go and see what I think. Fire Rush by Jacqueline Crooks. I wanted to get this on audio because it's a book about music and I think it works well on audio, but I haven't been able to get it on either of my library apps. So I'm still just going to wait for this to see if I can get it through BorrowBox or Libby. What else? Homesick by Jennifer Croft. Again, I mean, if I find it in a secondhand bookshop or charity shop, which I tend, like, it's weird, or I can get it on Vinted or Depop, which is another place that I look for books, I may read it, but not top priority. The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. I bought my mum a copy, so I am going to read that and I'm going to get it off my mum. And I think that's it. So the ones that I have to talk to you about. So also, I've just started this on audio, The Bandit Queens by Parini Shroff. I haven't read enough to talk to you about it yet, other than that I am very much enjoyed the very small amount that I've listened to so far, and I'm going to be continuing with it. Whether I will read this physical copy or carry on audio, I'm not sure yet. I may do both because I've not done that before. But the two books that I have to talk to you about today are the two that I've read, and they are I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel and Cursed Bread by Sophie Mackintosh. So let's start with I'm a Fan. This is a small book and it is about a woman who is living her life very much on social media. She is in a relationship with her boyfriend, but she's cheating on her boyfriend with another man who is an actual scumbag and a cretin. Again, apologies if you can hear that singing upstairs. And Dodger has arrived to join us. Hello, Dodger. If I can, I'll do a cutaway and show you Dodger looking glorious on our nice new sofa that he's covering in his white hairs. Anyway, back to this book. So our narrator is told in the first person from her perspective, and it's basically her living through this time in her life where she is having an affair with this guy who's a douchebag, cheating on her boyfriend, but the guy she's having an affair with, only known as the man I want to be with, is also married and has several girlfriends, and just, you know, treating all of these women terribly. So it's a really frustrating book to read. I thought it would be a quick read because, like I say, it's not very big. And the form I quite liked because it's very short chapters or vignettes. Some of them are like only half a page. And I liked what she was doing with form because it felt like the form was echoing the way that we consume content on social media. So very small. Sorry, I'm really distracted by Dodger. He's just doing something really weird, sniffing on the sofa like he's looking for something. What are you actually doing, Dodger? He's acting odd, probably because it's dinner time. Anyway, yeah, so these short chapters, which, like, they're not like longer than two or three pages at any one time, feels like as you're reading it that you're consuming social media content because it's short, like these vignettes, and it's like feels like it's catered towards the like shorter attention spans that we're having now, because we're so used to scrolling through tweets or Facebook posts, and you know, people are losing the ability to read longer form and concentrate, and it feels like that is encapsulated in the form of this book. So each very short chapter has a heading which is a very clever kind of summary or title encapsulating what's going on in that chapter. Some of them I didn't get. Some of this book just went completely over my head. It feels very, even though it's talking about like social media and all of that, there is some very serious and kind of intense social commentary and political commentary in here. There are some like of these chapters that are just about things like race and capitalism and colonialism, which are like so important little nuggets in between the fact that she's being screwed over by this guy. So I really enjoyed is not the right word for this book. I really appreciated this book. I hated all the characters in it because they're all terrible human beings, apart from her boyfriend who she cheats on, who seems like a really nice guy, and she just like does him dirty. And I know it's a divisive book because some people just like really didn't get on with it. And it took me a long time to read because I felt like, oh yeah, I can get through this really quickly. But there were some times where I had to like, oh, there's not a lot going on, but there's a lot of feeling, and there's a lot of kind of, I really don't know how to describe it. There's a lot going on in terms of the whole, like I say, socio-political backstory that is filling in this very kind of seemingly superficial story of a woman having an affair and living her life through social media. So the other part of this story is one of the women that this guy is having an affair with is a very prominent social media figure who, like, I don't know, I kept thinking about Gwyneth Paltrow as a comparison. Like, she's clearly like a very slim white woman who owns her own business selling stuff that people don't need. It's all very kind of high-end, expensive tat. And if you're on social media, you will recognize a lot of these people that she's referring to. So it's very on the nose. But yeah, I didn't find it difficult to read. I just felt like I had to slow down with it and take my time. Also, if you've ever been in the dating scene, or you have ever had a bad boyfriend or had a difficult time in any kind of relationship, some of this will resonate. Because our main character is just, is in a relationship with a lovely guy who treats her very nicely. And it doesn't make any sense what she's doing. She's just like, wants to be with this other guy who's an absolute douche. And it's infuriating. And she debases herself and has a lot of bad sex for this guy for no reason. Like, why does she want to be with him other than he's slightly famous? It makes no sense. And like some of it is quite hard hitting because you will recognize yourself in some of this. Like, even though she's a bad character, or not a bad character, she's a bad person, but there are some things where like me as a reader will go, oh, I've done that, as in like I've done that on social media, looking at someone, comparing myself to someone, thinking someone else is better than me. So it kind of hits home at various points throughout this novel. And at one time you'll be going, oh God, what is she doing? This is terrible behaviour. And then you'll recognise some of her behaviour in yourself, which is like one of the most uncomfortable things ever, because that happened to me. And I think it's, from what I've seen of other people, it's happened to like pretty much everyone who's read it. So it's a deeply unsettling and uncomfortable book, and therefore very necessary to read. So I would recommend it, but it won't be for everyone. But I thought it was and I'm just like absolutely gutted that it's not on the shortlist. I just don't get that at all. Very confused by that. Although it did recently make the Jalac shortlist, I think. So, I'm glad it's on another prize list. Interestingly, one of the themes in this book is performative self, and the way that we have different selves that we play out in different settings and scenarios and with different people. And that was also picked up in Cursed Bread. So this was the second book that I read from the long list, and I've just finished this, and it gave me all of the feels. Again, I've heard mixed reviews of this, but I bloody love this book so much. And I think it's because the themes that in here that are to do with the way that you perform yourself with different people and the way that you can get obsessed with other people. So the narrator in here is obsessed with the woman that she's obsessed with, as she calls her in this book. And our main character, Elodie, in this book is the baker's wife, and she is obsessed with a woman called Violet, who is new in the town that she lives in. So Violet is the baker's wife. She is living a very mundane existence. She is not desired by her husband. Her husband won't sleep with her, and she really fancies her husband, and that is absolutely heartbreaking because the desperation is so visceral in this text when she's like, she just wants her husband to sleep with her, and he does on like one occasion, but it's just, yeah, it's kind of gut-wrenching. So Elodie gets obsessed with this woman Violet and her husband, who is the ambassador. There's a lot of vagueness in this book. It's a mystery at the heart because you don't know what's going on like pretty much all the way through. It's told in two different kind of narrative styles. So the one is like Elodie talking about what's happening as she's interacting with Violet and the ambassador and her husband and the people in the village, and all this weird shit is happening in the village. Like some horses are found dead and a young man runs into a bonfire, and it's like, what is going on? What is happening? Things just get weirder and weirder. And then also the other part of the narrative is Elodie writing to Violet from a point in the future where obviously things have come to a head in the village, in this town, and you don't know what's happened, but she's reflecting on what's happened and she's talking to Violet with kind of all of this hindsight. And so the whole way through I was just drawn in going, what is it? What has happened? How has this happened? What's going on? That was Dodger getting down. He's a chunky boy. And kind of when you get to the end and you find out what it is, it's like, oh, wow. You kind of like know because the title is based, and the title, and it's based on a historical event that happened in a village in France, which you get from the author's note right at the back. So you can either go into it knowing that. I went into it knowing what that incident was because I'd seen other people talk about it. That didn't spoil my enjoyment of the book at all. And the author's note at the back is very brief. It doesn't give you much detail at all. So you kind of know what's going to happen. But yeah, the ending just made me go, what? And I've been thinking about it nonstop since I finished it. So yeah, I really loved it, and it felt kind of very resonant with me. Again, thinking about the ways that you have different versions of yourself with different people, and memory is a big thing in this book. So the narrator is kind of slightly unreliable because she's talking about things that have happened, but also it's implied that that's questionable, like, did that happen? And she's talking about her memory. Sorry, Dodger, I'll be right there. She's talking about her memories, like, is this, it happened like this, or did it? Or did it happen like this? And it's like alternative ideas of what of what might have happened. And I just thought that was really clever. Also, on a sentence level, this writing is really beautiful. This is a library copy, so I couldn't underline things. I would have liked my own copy of this, but what I was ending up doing was just taking lots of pictures of the pages that I really enjoyed, and like, oh, that's a great sentence, or that's a beautiful sentiment, or that's really powerful. So I enjoyed this very much, and I think these two books have interesting things to say to each other in terms of the themes, although they're very different. Obviously, this is historical, set in the 1950s in France. This is now about social media. Hello. But I think that they have an interesting conversation about about the self and the multiplicities that we have of ourselves, and the way that we see a lack in ourselves when we see something of value in other people, and how that's not always the case. So that was very powerful for me. I enjoyed reading these two books very much. So that's my update for the Women's Prize. I now have to go and feed Dodger because it is past his dinner time, and as you can tell, he's hungry. So I will come back to you when I've read some more. Probably not even by the time the winner is announced, but I'm just enjoying the books that I have discovered from the long list. Like I say, I'm not going to read all of the ones on the short list, but I think that's what is good about book prizes. Here he goes. Is that you can find books that you wouldn't ordinarily have found, and pick and choose the ones you want to read. You don't have to read all the just because they made the shortlist or just because it's going to win. But I'm going to try and get through as much of this as I can. I'll be coming back to you shortly with another update, because I haven't even done a wrap up yet of what I've read this year. And I'm slow, but I'm getting through some other books. So I will come back to you very soon with another video. But for now, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Dodger. You gonna come and say goodbye? Chunky boy? Goodbye. Bye. See you next time. Dodger has now had his dinner, and he is happy and having